This week, Donald Trump appears to have spent a good portion of his executive time following Fox News' coverage of the migrant caravan that's currently traveling across Mexico. He's very interested in it. He's not really interested in the actual caravan or what it represents or why it was organized, but he is very much interested in the right-wing fantasy version of it that I believe is probably inspired by the racist French 70s novel Camp of the Saints. So he has been spreading some conspiracy theories about that. We want to help to correct the record a little bit today and talk about why these caravans are happening and what's gonna happen with it. So since 2014, the Mexican government has been cracking down on people traveling through to the United States. The crackdown has resulted in the detention and deportation of about 950,000 people. And according to a 2015 United Nations report, widespread torture of a particularly grotesque nature. So the nonprofit Pueblos Sin Fronteras has organized caravans annually to draw attention to the plight of Central American migrants and to the logic of safety in numbers. They believe that they will be less likely to be the target of abuse and assaults and theft and rape and things like that if they stay together. Unfortunately, that extra size creates extra focus on what you're doing from people who want to use your caravan to push a political message, which is what we're seeing right now. And so Donald Trump has been talking particularly about sexual assault in the caravans. We're gonna take a look at one of his comments on that.
They're not putting their good ones. And remember my opening remarks at Trump Tower when I opened. Everybody said, oh, he was so tough. And I used the word rape. And yesterday it came out where this journey coming up, women are raped at levels that nobody's ever seen before. They don't want to mention that.
So, I mean, he referenced himself, one of the first things that we saw of him as a candidate. And that video right there and his general messaging about this caravan, I find to be one of the worst things that he's done. Both the idea that they're not putting their best, as if the Mexican government or the Honduran government they've got trucks and they're like, okay, who are we gonna put on them? Not that these are people trying to flee from violence and instability that in no small part you can track back to US activities over the past few decades, that they're trying to save themselves and their kids and get some sort of better life. No, they're being sent because they are trash and they don't want them in their own country, so they're sending them away. And then he talks about the rape there. And so there have been reports, by the way, saying that the vast majority of migrants traveling through Latin America, Central America, and through Mexico are the targets of various sorts of abuse. Not in this particular caravan. An embedded reporter says that one of the caravan organizers say that there have been no reports, none whatsoever, of sexual assault. Now that doesn't mean that there necessarily hasn't been any, but it doesn't seem like that is a principal problem, especially when you consider that one of the principal reasons these are set up is to protect the women. And what he's saying there is that those assaults are happening in the caravan. They're happening by people in the caravan. That these are not people trying to protect themselves, that they are potential rapists trying to come into our country. And by the way, he highlights what he believes to be rape in the caravan, not as a reason to help the people, but a reason to bar the people from entering our country. He says they're victims and so screw them, they're not getting in here.
So you mean a man accused by multiple women of sexual harassment and sexual assault is now using sexual assault as a political weapon to dehumanize other people?
It appears that way.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, look, let me double down on what both of you just said. First of all, he apparently doesn't have any problem talking about the concept. So look, we didn't bring it up, he brought it up. It's not just sexual assault and sexual harassment, which are horrific. He was accused of rape by his own wife in sworn testimony. Later, she said, I didn't mean after they settled and she got the money she was looking for. Look, I'm keeping it real, that's what happened. That's what happened in the divorce proceedings. She said, I didn't mean rape in the legal or literal sense. What other sense is there of rape? So, and he had attacked her, ripped her hair out, assaulted her, and then raped her in one instance because he didn't like the hair transplant doctor that she had suggested, okay? That's the kind of man this is. But that is relevant to this story because all he ever does is projection, right? Oh, they are the ones doing rape like you've never heard before, right? Their government has these evil intentions, bad intentions. That's why they are putting them in the caravan. So he knows I like to do bad things and I want to order things like that. So I assume that's what the government of Mexico and Honduras are doing. But then to double down on what John said, It has a very Camp of the Saints feel to it. If you don't know the book, congratulations. It's a horrible racist book from back in the 1970s that has now become the Bible for the alt-right. Mark Stein recently talked about it on Fox News. Steve Bannon has referred to it over and over and over again. Breitbart glowingly refers to it. And it is a viciously racist book where immigrants are coming to France, 800,000 Indian immigrants. And they are referred to in very sexual ways. I mean, rivers of sperm they talk about in the book, and here it is, Trump talking about it in these immigrants that are coming that are very sexually oriented, etc. And the plot in the book is the immigrants have a plot. They have been sent to take over the Western white world. And the hero of the book's job is to murder them all. Okay, that's the thing that they look up to. That's why he talks in ways that make no sense. Because if you break it down and you go, wait, you really think the government of Honduras like loaded up a caravan of people, that it wasn't that they were fleeing from the violence that happened from the election, but that it was a plot by the government of Honduras to do what? To send people over to America to do what? You would have to be a lunatic to believe in that conspiracy theory. And it's because their frame of mind is from that the immigrants are invading, just like they told us in Camp of the Saints.
But it's a distraction technique too, because then anything else that's going negatively for the Trump administration, for Americans in the economy, you just blame it on the other, right? You blame it on Muslims, you blame it on immigrants, wherever they're coming from, you blame it on refugees. That's the way that Donald Trump became president. He used that kind of fear tactic. You see it all over the world right now in European nations. You see it in Russia too, with that kind of nationalism, and that's why he continues to use it, because it works. Like you said, the right-wing media, Fox, so many of the other outlets. If you just conjure up this image of a huge caravan of murderers and rapists moving towards the United States, and as if we don't have enough security to stop this caravan before it breaks in, then that'll get people afraid of that, focused on that, and not on anything else.
This issue is very close to me. Not only is my husband an immigrant, but my brother-in-law made that trip from Mexico. And what they don't understand, because they aren't really concerned with what's truly happening, is it's not the people who are actually trying to immigrate to America that are raping each other. It's usually the people they're hiring to bring them in.
Taking advantage of them.
Yes, they're taking advantage of them. And when we talk about these things, we need to start talking about it, and also the United States' responsibility in what's happening. How many coups have we done in South and Central America, where people have chosen leaders that would be for the best interest of the people, but yet we are determined to make sure that we have oligarchy regimes in place, and they are trying to desperately find a better mode of life for them and their families. I've been to Mexico many times. I've driven all the way through Mexico down to Puebla, and it really, that first time I went through with my brother-in-law, it opened my eyes. I started thinking about it in real terms. And if I was a family and a mother or someone who was living here, and I had these children or these family members, what would I do to ensure my family was okay? And we are also contributing to what's happening in Mexico. We have American companies paying substandard living wages to these people, and they don't have real means of being able to provide for their family. One person coming to the United States can take care of many family members. And that's the humanity part that we seem to forget. If we were in their situation, what would we be doing?
Well, people act out of desperation. I just wanted to point out one more thing that I'm sure you guys have brought up many times on the show too, which is that a lot of the migrants in this caravan are planning on applying for asylum, right? They're already being targeted and labeled as illegals by a lot of people on the right. And again, that kind of language completely just washes away what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve, how they're trying to find themselves a better life.
Yeah, I want to talk about a couple of things you guys mentioned. Number one, there is a right way to talk about this. It's not like rape does not happen in those travels, and not in the caravan, because that's the whole point of the caravan, is to protect everyone. That's why they're sticking together. But it does happen fairly regularly, and it is a tragic story. But if, to John's point, if Trump said, look, that happens from time to time, and it's a tragedy, let's figure out how to prevent it, you'd be having a really rational conversation about a serious problem. Instead, he politicizes it and makes it seem like it's the fault of the people who are the victims. And by the way, I want to correct something. I earlier had stated that the caravan is not as big as they claim and doesn't exist in the way that Trump had said. It does. It is a real caravan. It does happen regularly, which then leads to the point that Alona, I had said that on earlier shows, Alona pointed out, which is that this caravan is now fairly significant, about 1,100 people, so that part is true, okay? There, you don't sneak in with 1,100 people, and one of the organizers said that's the whole point. Like we're coming here to seek asylum. That's why it's super obvious. You don't do a giant caravan to sneak into the country. That's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and according to the organizers, they are in fact going to be stopping the journey in Mexico City. That is as far as the caravan is going to go. It is believed that a few hundred perhaps, will continue to try to get in, either through asylum or other means. But they're not going to be trying to move. Like the idea that they're going to march hundreds of people in lockstep across the border is ridiculous.
And then they can like climb on, help each other, boost them over the wall.
Exactly,
or
yeah. But it's this is Fox News. You can say almost anything. One of the things that bothers me the most is this whole feeding frenzy from the right over this issue, where this is, if you turn into Fox News, which you shouldn't, or Tucker Carlson especially, which you shouldn't, you'll hear about this randomly throughout the week. They love this story. It reminds me so much of the discussion when so many Syrians desperately needed our help. I know that the right loves to pretend that they think America's great and the left hates America. I have this crazy idea that America is strong enough and capable enough that if some Hondurans need our help, I think we can help them out. I think we could let them in, and I think our country would probably be okay at the end of it. But they don't think that. They think that that would be the end of America, and so they need to be stopped. And so, as Alona pointed out, they are dehumanizing these people. They're trying to pretend that these victims are themselves the problem. So these people who are abused and raped and assaulted when they're coming here, they are the rapists. In the same way that the Syrians who were so desperately fleeing terrorists in their home and the regime that was trying to kill them, they are the terrorists and thus can't be allowed in. And I hesitate to even read this, but I want to be clear about the language they're using. So the National Guard is going to be deployed to try to stop them. And what's going to happen from that? Some people say it's just going to be a visual deterrent. Ann Coulter was asked about that. Will they just be a visual deterrent? And she says, I don't know, we'll see. If I were an illegal, unless they're going to shoot one and send a message to the rest, as Voltaire's line in Candide is, we hang one to encourage the others. If you shoot one to encourage the others, maybe they'll learn, but otherwise, we'll see.
What's really striking about this is that we're talking about sending our troops down to the border for a problem that doesn't even exist. But yet these troops should be deployed to Puerto Rico. There are so many other problems and ways that our energies need to be diverted in this country. And yet we are again at the mercy of a president that right now is acting, well, I would say he's acting irrationally, but I think it's rational in his own mind. He is playing to his base and at the expense of human lives and suffering. And we, as a country, again, we talk about the refugees and people from other countries, but I see it from a very different viewpoint than maybe than some others do. That what is America's part and what do they play, and why these people are in the situation that they're in. We talk about the Syrians, or we talk about other people. What has been America's part in that?
If you become a member of the Young Turks, you'll be saying,
I'm like a smart person.
So do it right now. tytnetwork.com/join. Get the whole Young Turks show every day.